the process starts with supply chain. So all the contracts are negotiated through supply chain. Some of the contracts would be negotiated by global supply chain, and other contracts would then be negotiated by local supply chain. So depending on which branch of supply chain the contract comes from, the process works just slightly differently. So for contracts that come through the global supply chain process, global supply chain is able to enter into contracts on behalf of the regions. So you would find global supply chain contracts that are region specific and also that sit, suppose, at a corporate level as well. So with those contracts, when they come in, our supply chain team, which is Albert and Ursula, go through the contracts, and they then assess whether or not there is a lease in the contract. We have a template that has a questionnaire that is set out, and based on the questionnaire and the contents of the contract, they then use that to identify if we have a lease. The template then also specifies, once there is a lease, that lease then needs to be classified either as a lease that will be capitalized and go onto the balance sheet, or as a lease that is, we call them income statement leases, which is your low value, short term, and variable leases. So the template then assists them in terms of categorizing those. Once the lease, once it's been identified that there is a lease and the lease has been classified, if the lease is classified to be a capitalized lease, the template then directs them to complete on a separate tab. I think it's tab D. They've then got to complete the cash flows for the lease, including the discount rate. So basically all the inputs. They would then show the start date, the end date, put in all the cash flows for the month, for the various months in the contract, and then include the discount rate. Once that's been done on the capitalized side, that template will then be sent to us at corporate, and we will then input based on the NPV template and also based on the contract, just confirming that the two speak to each other, and then uploading or onboarding the lease into our leases system, which is Nomos One.
Say that again?
Nomos One, NOMOS 1. Yeah, so they normally write out one as ONE, but I suppose that's also fine.
NOMOS, right?
Yeah, so Nomos, that's correct, but it would all be capitalized. And then let me actually just write it in the chat. Let's do this.
Okay. Oh, one.
Yeah.
So this is a third-party tool, or this is developed by EGA?
It's a third-party. It's a third-party tool developed by a company in New Zealand.
Okay. Okay. So this tool is just used for uploading the lease information, or it does some calculations also?
It does the calculations, and it also does the disclosures. So we use it for calculations, for journal entries, and for disclosure reports for reporting purposes.
So the template, you just fill the information of I start date, end date, and then when you upload this template, this software does the calculations based on template, correct?
It does the calculations based on input.
Which is template, right?
So we use the template to input that information from the template onto Nomos. It's not, we don't have a where we just take the template and put it onto Nomos and then it does a calculation. We have to go in and put in all the information into Nomos.
Yes, it's physical inputs. It's a manual input.
Oh, you manually inputting in Nomos.
Correct.
Yes.
And the template is also you are manually inputting.
Correct.
Okay. And template helps in uploading a certain information, but rest of the information you do yourself.
The rest of the information, like if there were to be, I don't know, lease incentives or rent holidays or something like that, that we would get from the contract. So it would be from the detail of the contract. But even that is also a manual input into the system.
Okay, in the system directly. And template is one template or there's many templates?
It's a singular template for that specific contract.
Great. So once you upload it, that's the lease, and you kick in lease start, and that starts.
Yeah, what Nomos does is that it has events, and commencement is considered to be an event. So you would activate the event for the system to know that it should start calculating
And
the journal entries and the
activity.
like.
So journal entries are automatically done in SAP, or this is
No. So once the lease has been onboarded into Nomos, as part of our month-end process, since the regions would have sent the templates to us to onboard into the system, once I've onboarded all the transactions for that specific month, I then send out a notice to all the regions that all of the transactions have been captured for that month. They can then go into the system and extract the journal reports for them to then upload into SAP. So the regions then do SAP processing.
Okay, so region extract the reports from Nomos and prepare. Okay.
And they then prepare their journals.
Okay. So basically, you are responsible for the making sure that the information is there in the system. Your team is making sure that.
Correct.
Okay. Tell me something, like what kind of leases are there?
When you say what kind, earlier you spoke about finance and operating, we have a mixture of both.
Okay. And it is the leases for the equipments, or it is certain specific?
It's equipment, vehicles, buildings, infrastructure.
Which is the biggest one in this?
It would be between equipment and infrastructure.
Okay. Perfect. And are you getting information from anyone else, like the supply chain team you are dependent on, or is it you get the information? Yeah.
So supply chain will send. So as I explained previously, that we've got global supply chain and then we've got local supply chain. On the global supply chain level, they will then notify the region once it's been identified that there is a lease for the region to complete the template that we use. And then from the local supply chain perspective, local supply chain will liaise with local finance, and the local finance team will then identify whether there is a lease and then complete the template as I've explained. So supply chain's involvement is just on the contract side. But once we start talking lease identification, for local supply chain, it goes into the local finance team. It's only the global supply chain that will do the identification. And then once the identification is done, they then notify the region that a lease has been identified.
Okay. So your team is called as a local team, or is a corporate? What your team belongs to?
Corporate. So
Okay.
it's corporate financial reporting.
Okay. You are corporate financial reporting, but the activity you are doing this, Nomos and all, you guys are doing it, right?
Correct. We work with the Nomos system, yes.
Okay. And do you also get the templates also filled in, or always you have to fill the template yourself?
So the regions fill the templates in and they send it to us having been already completed, with the exception of the Africa region. For the Africa region, we complete the template on their behalf.
Okay. So that is the additional thing we are doing. So
yeah.
Okay.
I would list that as a challenge.
Yes, this has to, yeah. So let me see that right here in itself. Corporate team has to fill the template for. So it includes all Africa region or just South Africa only, entire Africa, Tanzania, all the countries, right?
The whole Africa region.
Okay. So at least it is standard in Africa that they are not filling it. Okay. Let me save it. It's very good information on this one. So how many people are there, Dalib? And this is Nanku, which is supporting this process from finance side, reporting your team side.
At the corporate level,
Mm-hmm.
it's just myself and Salia.
Okay. But the region people are basically global and local supply chain out of the finance means the general
So
account.
it will be the supply chain team. I'm not sure the number of people that are involved there, and then it will also be the regional finance team. And again, I'm not sure the number of people that are responsible there.
Okay, and these people sit where? This local and the regional people, where they sit?
So they would sit at the regions, in the respective regions. So the Brazil team sits in Brazil, Australia in Australia. Our global supply chain sits in the corporate office with us in Johannesburg.
Okay, global supply sits in, okay. And corporate only.
Yeah.
And the language wise, you don't have any challenges, right? You speak in English with them, right?
We speak to everyone in English. Some of the contracts that come from Brazil are in Portuguese, and so we do need to use a measure of Google Translate sometimes to verify the inputs against what's in the template. With the acquisition of Sentiment, we've seen that the contracts are both in English and in Arabic. So that's fine. But yeah,
Okay.
it's been more in Brazil where the contracts are in Portuguese without having them being translated. We need to manually translate that using Google Translate, or we
Okay,
need to
good.
ask the team to translate for us.
And that is needed for you because you want to have to upload it. Otherwise,
Because I need to verify the inputs, yeah. So I mean, I need to understand, the commencement date, the rate, the
okay.
end date, all of that.
Yes. Yes, I remember this was when the Brazil person was doing it, he has them Portuguese, thing he has written it. Great. Very good. In terms of any challenges, high level, 3 or 4 challenges you're facing. One is you mentioned already about that you have to fill the templates at the corporate. Uh, any other challenges, some manual calculations or any software issues, it is not responding well?
So with regards to the software, we do sometimes have challenges, but the support team at Nomos is normally very quick to assist with that. It normally only happens if they've made changes on their side to the back end. So maybe if they've included new subdomains, it's a bit of a process on our side as well to get those domains whitelisted. Or sometimes we find sort of hanging when trying to extract reports. The system can also be a bit slow, but nothing that I would say is major. A major challenge that we have with regards to the leases is around the timing that we receive the information, purely because these contracts and amendments get negotiated at a different level than the level that we now then process on. So we're sometimes not aware that contracts are being renegotiated. And we have found in some instances that renegotiations on the rates of contracts take a really long time. And from a timing perspective, where they're not able to process the transactions in their respective months, so sort of as and when it's happening, because we get information late. An example would be in Iduaprim, we had one of the leases where there was a rates negotiation that was done, and we only received the signed amendment 2 years later. So
wow, this 2 years is a big. So you
yeah.
had to do the backdated thing, for example. So
Initially in our TM1 software, it was possible to go back and sort of backdate it. It was also practical at that point. But what we do now in Nomos is that we process sort of a catch up in the month that we become aware, and then we adjust the rates moving forward. So we don't go back anymore.
So this is an additional exercise. You will have to calculate that
You'd have to
catch-up.
calculate the catch up, yeah.
Calculated because of that. So this is additional thing.
Yeah.
And have you tried to, understand and help them out how you can, or raise this issue a lot that why you are not sending in the time?
The issue has been raised, yes. I don't think from an assistance perspective, there's anything we can do to assist them in that process.
Yes.
But the issue around the timing has been raised.
Has been raised, and they are aware about that. This is important for you to process on the right time. And okay.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay. Any other challenges?
I can't think from the top of my head. Pariksha, is there anything that you can think of?
About the template and all the calculations you mentioned, you do the calculations, right? Sometimes. So software also does it, but you have to do certain calculations, right?
So I don't perform any calculations.
Okay.
We rely on the calculations that are in the system, and
Okay.
then we do a check just to confirm that the system has the correct inputs and that the output is aligned to the expectation, so that we would then just compare it to that manual Excel NPV template.
Okay. So basically, your template will have a calculations also which you reconcile with the system just to make sure it is. So is it correct understanding? So you do
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, I think maybe on the template, if I could raise a challenge, our template only addresses the liability. Where there is a modification on the asset, we're not able to confirm or create an expectation of what the position on the asset should be. So we rely on having checked the liability.
only does for liability.
Danku, and I think it's probably also worth mentioning that there are the subtle differences between the NPV template and basically Nomos due to the daily calc versus monthly, etc. So but it's basically immaterial, and we've tested it just so that it doesn't come out as a striking challenge. But I mean, it's something that we are aware of.
Yeah, so our NPV calculates using a monthly NPV type formula in the Excel spreadsheet, while the Nomos system uses a daily calculation methodology. So we sit with small differences because the payments get prorated because the system assumes that the payment happens in the morning on the last day of the month.
And that causes a little bit of difference.
A slight difference, yes, but we've accepted the difference.
Okay, but acceptable. Okay.
Yeah, normally never more than 1% of the NPV calculation itself.
Okay. So the template which you are talking about, is it the NPV template is different from that template, or is it the same template?
It's one spreadsheet, so it's one Excel book with many tabs. Yeah.
Okay. Is it not possible to provide the blank template?
I can share that with you.
So that I will keep it as a repository for operation teams, so that they can later on, just have a look into it.
All right, I'll share the template with you.
Yes, thank you. This is a very good thing because you mentioned that there could be a possible difference, but this is the reason for difference, and this happens. So this will not come as a surprise. Thank you, Pariksha. This is a very important thing which you mentioned. Any other challenges? You mentioned the template does only for liability and not liability calculations.
Yeah, we don't have currently we don't have a mechanism to confirm the asset balance.
Okay, not for asset balances. So why? So this template is developed by AGA by itself, or is it?
So the initial template was developed by AGA. We have in December consulted with Deloitte to do a little bit of an upgrade on the template, but it is still an AGA template.
Okay, okay. And initially they started with liability and they're still continuing with the liability only, not the asset
Correct.
balances.
We tried to bring the asset in, but there was some complication.
Okay.
Yeah, it wasn't as
But-
easy as we had
Okay,
hoped.
but there is a potential, if it is updated, it will be helpful for you, right?
I think also it would just depend. Myself and Salia have been having a conversation around the necessity of the template, because especially considering the fact that we do have some differences and it doesn't sort of agree completely. The template is supposed to validate that there was no human error in the inputs, which is why we compare against what the system then generates. Another way to actually do that is to produce in the NOMOS system what is a daily calculation report, and then to validate those inputs in the daily calculation report without actually completing a manual NPV template.
Mm-hmm.
So because currently completing a manual NPV template feels like replicating the system.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, but we are doing this as a process to ensure there is no manual errors, right?
Yeah, that's the current process. Yeah.
Okay.
Nitin, I think, when you're looking at the end-to-end process, we got to be practical around this, right? When, for example, when we run a monthly depreciation run in SAP, we don't go back and recalculate depreciation because the system is actually configured to do that,
Yes,
right?
yes.
So it then goes back to Nonka's point. Why do we need to go back and manually vet something like this? I mean, there's embedded controls within the system that you do these calculations.
Yes.
So I think we just need to think about this end to end when you're actually designing that process, and then a day one mapping.
Yes, yes, yes. But this exercise sometimes is helpful, Pariksha, because you want to get the information from the regional team or yourself. But absolutely, I agree, we should not duplicating the things again to revalidate the things. Maybe could be a quarterly exercise just to test it, but it should not be a, regular exercise of duplicating. Am I correct?
I think it should be more for your complex type of leases, where you have, so in my view, Nonko, and you need to come in and Salia needs to come in as well. If the business can actually confirm the inputs, because ultimate accountability for leases, I mean, is actually business if you think about it, because they sign the contract, et cetera, et cetera. If business can actually confirm the inputs, and then only for your really complex leases, where we have a PPA or something of that sort, where it gets really complex, then we could have as a side measure, like a template to validate, or even not even a template. We could use like the sandbox environment to actually validate. But I'll leave that to Salia and Nonko, as they've been running with the process more recently.
I think what would be worthwhile would be in the template, instead of having that NPV calculation, to have a tab that just allows them to put in the inputs. Obviously, the thinking previously was if it was going to move to business and they were going to be responsible for it, it makes sense if they have the contract, and as they look at the contract, they then input into the system without having to then translate those inputs onto an Excel sheet. But if the process is going to be completed by another person, then it makes sense to have an Excel sheet that has the inputs in, to make it easier for the person to then input. Or you could remove the Excel in its totality and only use it as a questionnaire, and then send that together with the contract, and the person who inputs it using the information directly from the contract.
Yes.
And then you can again pull out the daily calculation report just to vet the inputs against, because the daily calculation report can show you the commencement date, the end date, the discount rate, the payment structure, and you can just validate that against the contract.
Okay, this is a very good point.
Depends on how you want the control to function, and how much, I suppose, how much manual intervention you want in the review process.
No, absolutely. And this has to be assessed clearly. What are the things and value the template is providing us? So I
Correct.
have written a point here that there is a possibility for removing the template and just regard it, but it has to be assessed.
I think a possibility for removing the calculation from the template. The template itself is still necessary. We haven't gotten to the income statement leases yet because we use the template as well for the income statement leases. I think maybe also then as a challenge, if I can point that out, it is quite a challenge to put in the income statement leases into the NOMOS system purely because of the volume of transactions. There's quite a lot of income statement leases compared to the capitalized leases. And then what we're currently doing is that we are onboarding them at year end. So it is time consuming. We found that in this last year end, just to get the disclosures out on time, we ended up doing a manual pivot table and then, pulling the figures from Excel, and then only later completing the onboarding of everything into the NOMOS platform.
Okay.
So initially, when we started using the NOMOS platform, we understood that it had a functionality to do a bulk upload on the income statement leases, but we've subsequently now found that that functionality actually does not exist on the platform.
Yeah, that will be very helpful. You have to do manually one by one.
Yeah.
And this is a yearly exercise, not a monthly, right?
We've done, so the regions provide the information quarterly, but because the information, because it comes in quarterly and the process to put it in is the same, it would mean then if you capture the payments, you would have to undertake this process quarterly. And we found, it takes about 2 weeks, given all the other stuff that's happening in between as well, to get everything captured in. So that would mean that I would lose 2 weeks of every quarter trying to catch up with putting the payments in the system when it can be done 2 weeks once off at year end. Because the information is only required at year end for disclosure purposes.
Okay. So I can classify this as a year-end burden, extra burden, which comes for onboarding the income.
Yeah, that's
okay.
fair.
From the monthly perspective, so are you doing at just a month end this template and inputting, or you are doing all the time, over the month?
Sorry, I don't think I understand the question. Could you please repeat?
My question is, you get the information and you input for the template, for example, Africa, and other provide the information. So this is happening over the time, like every day kind of thing, or is just at the certain point of time, like 25th of every month you are doing this exercise?
It's normally mid-month.
Say that again?
Normally mid-month.
Okay.
We've given the regions a deadline, which is about 10 days or so before month end, for them to submit the information. So it's normally mid-month. For example, in September, the deadline for the regions was the 18th of September.
Okay. So you get and you process this in how many days you do it?
So as and when I get them, but the aim is to be done processing before our support meeting with the NOMOS team, so that if there are any challenges with onboarding, that they're able to assist. So I would say about 2 or 3 days, because the deadline is normally about 2 days before our support call.
Okay. And how many, do you have a volumes a little bit? How many lease?
It's not consistent. It varies month on month. In some months, there are no transactions, and in other months, there's like 18 transactions.
Okay. May go up to 18 transactions.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever processed more than that in 1 month. There was 1 month where Brazil had quite a lot, in the double digits, but never more than 20.
But it takes closely almost 3 days to finish it. Maybe 4 days also, but close to 24 means 8, 3, 24.
I think also because of the system as well. Sometimes the system is slow, and so you do get some hanging when you are trying to pull reports, because the control is only complete once you've pulled the disclosure report and validated the NPV calculation against the manual NPV calculation.
Yes. And this is just for inputting, but you are spending a lot of time in communicating also with them, right? That give the information or provide this information, that information. So your time
So,
consumed in that as well, correct?
so communication normally happens if there's errors or if there's something that is not clear in the way that they've done something. So the communication stems from a review perspective, not necessarily from requesting the information. It's standard. They know that they need to provide this information.
Okay, okay. Perfect. So so here, Nanku, here, the 3 days you are doing it. So are you involved in any other activities as well for, apart from this lease activities?
Yeah, I have my normal other responsibilities that I undertake in between doing the leases.
Okay. Perfect. We will talk about this later. So maybe other than like fixed assets and other things also, right? Other accounting things. Is it true?
I'm not involved in fixed assets, but I am involved in like on a monthly basis, like the bond journals, and I think more of my work is a quarterly thing. Leases and the bond journals are kind of the only monthly.
Okay, you also do the journal entries, etc. involved in that. Okay. And
Not the actual
but I think
processing.
but I think we need to, I mean to go back to when we spoke at the beginning, that the purpose of this one is purely just for lease accounting. There's a
Okay.
whole lot of other areas, that's general accounting, and we're still in actually discussions around
Perfect.
the
Perfect.
balance sheet recons. So we keep this actually limited to lease accounting.
Perfect. Thank you. All right, so I have this thing. Any other challenges you are facing, Nanku, in the lease? You mentioned about the software challenges, the timing difference when you receive the information, and the catch up which you have to do. You also mentioned, a lot of things you have to do onboarded, at the month end for income statement, the template challenges you mentioned, that it takes care of only the liability portion. Any other challenges which you think will be helpful or help in improving this process?
I can't think of anything straight off, apart from what we've just discussed now. Salia, I don't know if.
I think you have covered all the items.
Nanku, I think it might be worthwhile. Sorry, Vinay. I think it might be worthwhile just to mention from a completeness perspective, in terms of the risk, that we are very much dependent on sites, and in terms of physical verification of these leases and basically equipment at the site is what we would actually require the sites to do. Because you'd recall in 2023 or something, there was one of the leases where it was on books, but it was never delivered to site. So that's just something basically just to acknowledge upfront. That's not something that we can confirm, because we're very much dependent on the inputs that we get from the sites.
Yeah, we also have a general completeness issue, which also stems from the timing challenges, because to be fair, like also what Pariksha said, we've also then had the reverse. So instead of having the lease on book and the assets not arriving on site, we have cases where assets arrive on site and they're being used, but we haven't then received the contracts yet because the negotiations are still ongoing. And so from that perspective, we would then sit with a completeness issue where we have assets on site, but they're not on book.
Interesting. But you don't have any visibility what's going on in the sites, because you
No.
just receive, yeah. So the completeness also you mentioned, Sarah, is it like they don't know exactly what they have to provide you the information, some training issue or something like can help out?
I think it's just a very dragged out negotiations process. I can't really say, also because the finance team also sometimes is not aware, because the finance team at the region also relies on the supply chain team. So if supply chain, I suppose, maybe doesn't communicate that, there's I can't really say who would then be responsible, because even when the assets are delivered on site, I don't know who then, signs for the receipt of those assets, because ideally it would be the person who's acknowledged receipt of assets who would want to feedback that there are assets on site. So I don't know, I think maybe Pariksha, operationally, would you be able to speak a bit more to that? I don't, yeah.
It all depends on the contract, Nanku, and basically where that contract comes in. Is it coming from geology? Is it coming from metal? Wherever it's coming. So it all depends on basically business itself.
Sources.
So yeah.
Sometimes it happens, non-cool, like we do a mid-month or 2 times a call with them just to get the heads up on the things, what is coming. So do you have on those kind of calls, or in case those calls are set up, will that help to?
So what we've tried to do with the contracts where we know, they're up for negotiation, we do prompt supply chain and say, look, we're aware that this contract is either coming to an end, or based on our understanding, there's going to be a change in the rates because of a negotiation, and just ask them to keep us updated. In some instances, they are able to give us like draft amendments as part of the negotiations. I think the bigger challenge mainly just comes from the inception part of the contract, because if the contract is still in negotiation and it hasn't commenced yet, nobody would know.
So how do you track it? For example, certain things in negotiation this month and it's still ongoing for the next month. Do you keep any kind of Excel or any kind of tracking mechanism where you see that, okay, these are the things I have to follow up, how they are materialized?
So we don't have we don't keep an Excel tracking, but the Nomos system does have, like I said, it sets up events, and so it then also sends event reminders.
Okay, very good. So that helps a lot. So once you create the event and it's under negotiation, Nomos tracks it.
Yeah, but you'd have to put that in as part of the input to say that there's an annual change in the rate, or whatever variation that you're expecting that you know of upfront. You'd have to put that in, and the system is then able to send you reminders on that. It also then automatically sends reminders on expiry and whether or not a renewal is upcoming.
Okay. But now it's just a point to put in the Nomos system. In case information is not there in the Nomos, there is no tracking.
Correct. Yeah. Then we rely on the region to do that. I'm sure the region has their own way of tracking.
Yes. And that's making sense. So first initial step is more important. When the things are happening, you should have at least such information which you can put in the Nomos so that it is tracked that way. So when they provide Africa for specifically, you mentioned you have to complete all the templates. So they provide you information in the emails, or is it any mechanism?
Yeah, they'll email a new contract or email an amendment.
Okay. And how do you track those? Those are a lot of emails. So for example, they send the information and then you revert back to them, and then they send again. So how you track those? Is there any tracking mechanism, some kind of tickets you are raising, or is just email?
It's just part of the month-end process. So as they send it with the lease transactions, what we do, we keep a leases log of all the transactions that we run on a yearly basis.
Okay.
Yeah.
And for the rest of them, they fill the template and give it to you. There is no challenges in that they are not filling it completely, or some missing information is there where you have to follow up a lot to get that information.
No.
Okay. Other reasons are good. So there is no training issue or anything.
No, not that we've picked up.
Just Africa has to be, little bit upgraded to that level.
With the Africa region, I think it's more of a just a clarity that's needed in terms of the responsibilities. I think there's also maybe a bit of an internal.
So responsibility alignments, and then follow up whether they are for what the things they should be.
It's not that they're not able to or not capable. They've also received the same training that all the regions have received.
Yes. No, this is a very good point, actually. that other regions are doing, and we have a possibility to pass those so that we can focus just on nomos and tracking those things and the calculations, etc. Okay, very good. Any other, Saleha, do you have any other challenges in this process? Any kind of Excel which is troubling you, or any calculations which are not coming in? Very good, very good. I think
You're on mute.
Sorry. I don't know if you want to mention that one thing that can become a challenge is with the support team being in New Zealand, we do have that time difference issue with Nomos.
Oh yes, and which is just Genpact sometimes system is slow and support is in New Zealand. Let me write it. And this is
like
we can't help.
They help us as soon as they can, but obviously it's as soon as they can because there is a correct me if I'm wrong, 9-10 hour time difference. Yeah.
And you coordinate with them some ticketing system, or is it email you send it, or support@XYZ?
We send an email to support and they create a ticket on their side.
Okay.
We have a designated client manager, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
Yeah.
That also assists in escalating our support requests.
That helps a lot, during the month, and you can directly reach out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, they do help as soon as they can, but there is a time difference.
Okay. From the leases, close to 24 hours, right? We spend on every month kind of thing. Saleha, this includes, Saleha, your time as well, that this is combined, or you have a separate responsibility other than non-co?
So on a monthly basis, I'm mainly there to assist non-co if there's any issues that come up from a transactional reporting perspective. And then on a quarterly basis, we have controls in place where my review comes in.
Okay. Perfect. I think overview side, we are very good. Let's validate the activities also here. So lease identification and calculations. So your team is doing whether this is operating or finance lease, right?
So because we're using IFRS 16, we're currently not classifying them as operating and finance. We just have them as capitalized leases or non-capitalized leases.
Okay.
That classification is done by the responsible person for the contract. So like I explained earlier, global supply chain does that for the contracts that are in their area of responsibility. And then the local finance team will do that for contracts that come from the local supply chain.
Okay. So this is not our task, classification and all, basically. Are we doing just inputting that in the system, right? That is our job in this, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Just input in the system. Just input. Okay. Any lease modification? This is something we are doing, right? Lease modifications and reassessment.
So it will follow the same process as when a new lease comes in. If there's an amendment to the contract, the NPV template will be updated by the local finance team, and they will then send it through to us to input into Nomos. And the control around that is the same as when there is an initial lease.
Okay. So our role is just to receive the template and update it. But for Africa, we are doing both, right?
Correct.
Okay. So from the calculation perspective, this template is taking care of all calculations, right? Because you mentioned separate tab for NPV, right?
Yeah, so this template calculates the liability.
Sorry, Vanita, I've got another call at 2 p.m. that I need to drop off for, but I'll touch base with Nonku and Celia a bit later.
No, absolutely.
Thanks,
and
everyone.
Thank you.
All right.
Okay, bye.
Okay. team does modifications based on information from global supply and local and regional.
Based on information either from global supply chain or from the local finance team.
Okay. Lease events and all, you just input that in the system, right?
When you say lease events and life cycle changes, we would see those as modifications and reassessments. So it would be the same
so
thing.
Covered in above. Okay.
Yeah.
And reporting and disclosures.
So the NOMOS system puts together a disclosure report in the format that you would sort of see. It does like a leases note. And we use that and vet that against what we have in HFM, which is our consolidations system. So we rely more on NOMOS to do the asset disclosure. And in HFM, we've already built in the lease liability disclosure. So the lease liability disclosure comes from HFM and the lease asset disclosure comes from NOMOS, but then is still agreed to HFM to make sure that the numbers are the same.
And asset disclosure from NOMOS. Okay. So why this is separate? In NOMOS, why not liability disclosure comes?
Because we've already got it built into HFM. And also the reason why we use NOMOS on the asset side is so that we can get the split between, so our note currently shows mining infrastructure and equipment, and then it shows buildings. So it shows two categories, one being land and buildings, the second one being mining equipment and infrastructure. In HFM, when they upload the packs, they don't split. There are accounts, but the regions don't split it. They seem to throw everything into mining equipment and infrastructure. So we use NOMOS to get the split between land and buildings, and then everything else falls into the mining infrastructure and equipment category. So the reason why we don't only use NOMOS is because NOMOS doesn't have translation, and so we would lose the disclosure on translation. So we need the HFM numbers because the translation is done on that front.
What is translation?
Ideally, we would want to, sorry?
What is translation of disclosure?
Exchange rate translation, because
Oh,
some of
yeah,
the leases are
okay.
denominated in different currencies and everything then gets translated to USD.
Yes, it is. Okay, so that's why you have to use HFM for that.
Yes.
Okay. And you, so this is, should I consider this a challenge that you mentioned the teams, regional, they throw everything in that and you have to do a split in NOMOS yourself manually?
Yeah, it is a challenge, but
Okay,
NOMOS assists with that challenge.
So NOMOS, so should I write like regional team doesn't split?
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure what the issue is in HFM, but there is an issue that precludes them from being able to split it in the pack. I'm not close to that process, so I can't explain what the actual issue is. But when we raised it initially, it's because there is an issue around how the packs are uploaded.
No, our thing, we are getting burdened because we have to manually split it, right?
Yeah.
NOMOS. So that is our challenge. If it is not there, we could have, relieved from that calculations, correct?
Yes, if it was set up so that they could upload it against the correct categories, we would be able to rely on HFM only for the disclosures.
Okay. So help me this. Regional team doesn't split between mining?
I don't want to say that it's the team that doesn't do it. I want to say that in the process, it doesn't seem that it's possible at this stage. I'm not sure if that's something that's coming up in the HFM rewrite, but as part of the process when they upload their packs, they don't, or rather, the numbers are not put into the correct categories, into the correct lease classification categories.
That's not put into correct lease classification. Okay, in Nomos. And these classifications you mentioned.
Into HFM, because the regions don't put anything into Nomos. They only extract reports. They only have read-only access.
Okay. So regional are providing the templates, but they are inputting in HFM directly because they have access to HFM.
They load a pack, a finance pack.
Okay.
It's part of their finance packs where they load the income statement, balance sheets, etc., onto HFM for consolidation.
Okay. And so they have access to HFM, but in Nomos, you will have to do the correct classification. The same thing which you have done.
When you onboard the lease in Nomos, you can choose the asset classification. Now, the issue comes that once they've processed their journals, I'm not sure where in the process the breakdown is, but they aren't then able to split the categories correctly in the HFM pack.
Okay. And because of this, what you have to do?
Because of this, when we do our year-end disclosure for the right of use assets note, it means that I need to rely on the Nomos system to get the split between mining infrastructure and land and buildings, because there isn't another way to track it.
Mm-hmm. So this problem, can this be resolved if HFM has that split?
Correct.
Okay. So correct classes for split between what? Mining and?
Between mining infrastructure and equipment and land and buildings.
Infra and land and building.
Yeah.
So this will relieve you from the requirement of, helping disclosure.
Setting it up, yeah.
Okay. So because I'm just thinking from the perspective that how HFM, so this is the point for HFM. Yes, Dalia.
Yes, I'm asking how this is a challenge related to the reporting currency translation. So if I'm understanding correctly, so you need to manually do the translation for the Nomos report because you are not having this from HFM?
No. So when they put the packs into HFM, they put it in with their functional currency, and then they translate it. Well, HFM will translate it.
Yes. And you don't have the translation on Nomos, correct? So
Nomos is not able to do exchange rate translation.
So you are doing this manually. This is a challenge on the reporting currency.
We
correct?
use a Power BI report. So we extract all of the reports and then we put them into Power BI. And Deloitte has assisted us with building that Power BI tool. And that is the tool that then translates the reports from Nomos, which allows us to check the numbers against HFM.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. So Power BI also another tool which we are involved in. Any other tool which you are doing in this process?
No, just Excel, Power BI, and Nomos and HFM.
So Excel, Power BI, Nomos, and HFM are the tools. That's good. So
the regions would use SAP, but we're not involved at the SAP level. Yeah.
Yes. And are you creating yourself any general entries also relating to lease?
No, Nomos puts out, or Nomos creates the journal entries, and the finance teams then extract the reports so that they can process those entries.
Okay. Is there any, I don't know, this Nomos is integrated to SAP in any way? Is passing the information?
No.
Okay.
No.
That's why they have to pull this and
They have to extract the reports.
extract. Yes, extract. Any other reporting which you are doing in this process, lease reporting, other than disclosures?
So monthly it will be journals, and then on a half-year basis it will be disclosure, and then for year end as well it will be disclosure.
Disclosure is half year.
Yeah, in our half-year report we include the reconciliation for the lease liability. We don't do the asset disclosure at half year.
Okay.
But then year end we do both.
So half year you don't do lease liability.
Half year we only do lease liability. We don't do the asset.
Lease liability. Is it a difficult thing, disclosure thing? What kind of knowledge is required in this?
So for the disclosure for half year end, we extract the report from HFM. As I said, we've set up HFM to do the lease liability note for us. And then for year end, we use the information that comes out of NOMOS and we vet it against HFM. And then we do the split between land and buildings.
Okay. Is there any kind of accounting standard, lease accounting, or any kind of financial IFRS or?
We use IFRS 16, so IFRS 16 is the accounting standard. And when we have accounting issues, we have a technical team in the corporate office that assists us with that.
Assist in interpretation of any changes
Of
or
standard.
any other judgment in the sense where where you are doing some kind of decision making, or when there are two choices, you based on your knowledge you're deciding to move forward, or is all transactional?
So we don't exercise judgment. We have an accounting policy and an accounting directive, and we follow what's in the accounting policy and the accounting directive.
Okay, so there is a lease policy exists?
Correct.
Okay. And this policy is used in the regional and the local finance as well?
Correct.
Yes.
And used. Very good. This is a new thing because in Brazil there was no, they were not using that.
No, they have it and they know of it.
Maybe for regional. Okay. And when was this last updated? Do you know that?
The AD was last updated, I think, earlier this year.
Okay, recently updated. Very good. And this policy describes the information about, how the calculation and what the standard, what the interpretation, etc. It is a comprehensive enough to understand. Okay.
It's extremely comprehensive. It's the group's interpretation of the accounting standard and how we've elected to treat our leases at a group level.
Okay. Do you have any kind of SOPs for the lease accounting?
So that those would be the SOPs.
So, I mean, policy is, so you mean policy is basically a guidelines, which includes SOP is basically, I think, Nonku, what happens when you read the SAP, a person should be able to perform that function step by step.
Oh, you mean like a process flow?
Yeah, a little bit more than a process flow. So typically, Nonkuleka, SOP would be a process flow with type here, click there, and it will have screenshots of the screens, those type of thing. So it's like an in-depth. I think the other word for it is like a
we don't have a leases
job
manual
description, yeah, something like that.
We don't have a leases manual.
Yeah.
Like how to do leases at AGA. We don't have
Yeah,
that.
so that's what a SOP is. Yeah, how to do leases on SAP in AGA.
Yeah, we don't have that.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, thank you, Johan, for explaining it. Yes, so SOP, and you have a process flow, etc. Some boxes, you start here,
We have
you
a
end.
process flow, but the process flow is a bit outdated. What we did is we worked with internal audits to update the process flow, but that was updating the process flow with the intention to push the leases down to the regions, so to decentralize the leases and have the regions responsible for that. So I don't have a process flow that speaks to what I've currently just explained. Our process flow is outdated. It still refers to our previous system, which was TM1.
Okay. The Cognos. TM1 is a IBM one, right? Cognos.
Sorry?
TM1 is a software, right?
Correct. Yeah, we used
Okay.
to use TM1 before we started using Nomos.
I see. So that is based on. Okay. It's very good. So you mentioned the lease reconciliations, etc. you are doing, right, at the year end?
Yeah, so our lease reconciliation, we actually do, we do a reconciliation between Nomos and HFM on a quarterly basis. That forms part of the controls that Salia mentioned she reviews. And then for year end as well, we rely on the same recons.
And the template, etc. for that
We
recon.
use Power BI.
So Power BI
We
is
use
a calculation reporting tool, right? So I'm asking about when you do this reconciliations, you reconcile X and Y. So there is a template to it, right? So do you have a template, or you do in Excel just?
We use Power BI. So Power BI compares Nomos to HFM.
Okay, so Power BI is connected already, right? Or do you input
No,
the information?
we have Excel sheets that allow us to refresh point of view data from HFM, and Power BI reads that Excel once the point of view has been refreshed. And then, like I said, we extract reports from Nomos and we save them on a SharePoint site, and the Power BI fetches them from the SharePoint site. It will then translate them using the group exchange rates that get distributed, and then compares it to the HFM Excel sheet. And then it shows us the differences in USD.
Okay, okay. So this is a very good point. Can you help me writing the steps of this? Because this is a very interesting thing that Power BI is linked to SharePoint. So it all starts with the first step is you download the information from HFM.
Yeah, so step one is to
Vineet,
extract.
sorry, can I just, so my understanding is that they've created a template where Power BI reads off of. Is that correct?
No, so Power BI is the template. So we extract standard reports out of Nomos, and then we have an Excel which refreshes from HFM with all of the regions and each region's asset balance and liability balance.
Okay.
So those are the two sources of information.
Yeah. Okay.
If you want to say the third source of information would be the exchange rates.
Okay.
Those,
all right.
Those three data sources are saved on a SharePoint site.
Yeah.
And Power BI has been configured to
go and
read,
pick it up. Yeah.
to go and pick up those reports that come out of Nomos, which are in contract currency, translate them using the exchange rates that I've put onto the SharePoint site for a specific month, and then compare that to the data that I've pulled from HFM and said, these are the balances that I'm expecting.
Sure. That's interesting.
It's quite a sophisticated tool.
Yeah, no, that is, it's because I've worked on Power BI. I've never heard of it like this. So
Yeah,
sorry, I thought it was a template. It's not.
No, it's not. It's definitely not.
So here, are you uploading in Power BI also? How the Nomos is talking with Power BI? Is it like downloading?
We've extracted the reports from, I can show you if I can share my screen.
No, I don't want to see the steps at this point, because that is the part of the KT, but you can just generalize the steps from me that you extract.
We extract the reports out of Nomos.
Okay.
And we
Nomos.
save them on a SharePoint site.
Okay, and save in SharePoint. Okay.
And then
And-
we have an Excel document that has an HFM point of view for the leases. It allows us to fetch data from HFM for each region, showing the asset balance and the lease liability balance split between current and non-current.
Okay.
That is also an Excel sheet that gets saved onto the SharePoint site after the regions have loaded their packs and the point of view has been refreshed.
Okay. And the third
Then
step is, again,
there
you
is an
save this data.
exchange rate. That is also then saved on SharePoint. There's an exchange rate template. It's also an Excel sheet. It's used by the group as a whole. That exchange rate template gets distributed on the first working day of the month. That also gets saved onto the SharePoint. It shows you all the exchange rates for all the currencies, I suppose, that are applicable to the group for each month. It gives the average rate and the
And
closing
finance
rate.
provides this rate template?
Is Kerry's team finance? Well, yes, it's finance, but finance systems. The finance systems team provides
I think
that.
it's the intercompany group rates.
Yes, the ones that come from Treasury.
Yeah. So it's the approved rates that we have to use.
Comes
Correct.
from Treasury. Okay, comes from Treasury at the month end.
Yeah.
And all the data is saved in SharePoint, and then you run the Power BI report to compare.
Yeah, so then you tell Power BI that I've saved the extracts in this location. Please fetch them from that location. And because the reports are standard, code has been written into Power BI to teach it how to read those reports. And then it translates those NOMOS reports that are in contract currency and gives us a USD view of the balances, which we are then able to compare to the HFM balances, which are also in USD.
Okay.
Can I just ask, when you save the files, do you save all 3 files under one folder, or is it specific folders?
So it's not 3 files. It's a very big number of files. It's 3 reports for each region. So about 14 times 3. Those are the NOMOS reports that come out of the system. And then the Excel is one spreadsheet and the HFM spreadsheet is one. We save them in different folders. So the journal reports go into a folder called journal reports, and the Power BI knows that these are journal reports. Then the disclosure reports go into a folder called disclosure data, and the Power BI knows that this is disclosure related information. And when it shows it to us, it needs to show it to us in relation to the disclosure template.
That's the trade.
And then we have an agreement balances report, and the folder is then also called agreement balances report. And then Power BI knows to fetch that data to then reflect in the overview tab, which we've created. So the Power BI file itself also has different tabs to give us different points of view of the information.
Sure. Okay.
The main purpose of the Power BI is to take the reports from NOMOS and translate them.
Translate them in the USD view.
Correct.
Yes. And what's the final thing? Once it is all translated and you have the USD view, what you do with that last?
We compare it to what's in HFM to confirm that the regions have indeed been loading journals that come from NOMOS, because we expect the balances to agree.
Okay.
So the balances don't agree 100%, obviously, because of system differences, but we investigate differences that are above 2 million USD. That for us is material.
Okay.
But if we find that HFM agrees to NOMOS in the range of 2 million USD, then we're fine.
Say that again. What is the threshold?
2 million USD.
2 million and more. You investigate.
Correct.
Okay. In dollars. Okay.
Yes, US
Yeah.
dollars.
Perfect. So this is our good steps on that. I just wanted to take this to make a map which aligns with the future process. Thank you. And for initial things, we discussed upon these steps. You receive the information from global, the template from global and regional teams.
So I received the completed template from the regional teams.
So this is the first step. And by mid-month, by 10 days before.
Yeah,
month end.
the 10 days before is not a hard and fast, it's an approximation.
Yeah, approximate, I will write it. Okay. And then once you receive the template, you input, you prepare the NAV calculations, or it is automatic.
I review the NPV calculation against the contract.
Okay.
And once I'm satisfied with the inputs, I then put them into Nomos.
Put the information in Nomos. And the information you input, the template is there, but Nomos allows to upload the template, or you have to manually key in?
I have to manually key in, but we do upload it as part of supporting documentation.
Okay.
We also upload the contract.
Supporting, including contract. So let me write a manually input.
Yeah, it's a manual input.
Sorry, everyone. I have to drop. I've got a meeting now with Jimmy and the team. Apologies for that.
No
But
problem.
I will have a look at the recording once Vanilla shared it with us. Thank you so much. And
Thank
apologies
you.
for joining late. I was in the AP Business Blueprint workshop, and I'm going to the travel one now, so running around. Sorry for that,
Have a busy
everyone.
day.
Thank you. Have a
Thank
great
you.
day
Thank
further.
you.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay, so this is the third step. Once you manually input it, fourth step is, do you follow up?
Sorry?
You follow up based on this information?
No,
With
so
the-
once I've put it into the system, I then extract the corresponding report for that lease.
Leads, okay.
And then I just compare it to the NPV template and I save a separate check file.
With NP template and save it at
As a
separate
check file.
check file.
Yeah, check file.
Okay, means okay, check file and the SharePoint, right?
No, on our network drive.
Local drive, because this is your own comparison,
Yes, it's just a control on the manual input.
Yes, and then once you are satisfied, then so there is a possibility that it is calculating. You mentioned the difference is very manual. Minimal. So always is minimal, or did you find any variation sometimes?
So where the difference is large, it prompts me to go back and double check the inputs. If the inputs are still fine, we do raise a query with the Nomos team just to make sure that there isn't an error in the calculation logic that the system is applying. Sometimes the Nomos team is able to assist us, or sometimes we find that the system was correct. And then we just continue on that basis.
So both ways you check your own template as well as Nomos. See the difference.
Yeah.
Okay, and the last step is?
To then inform the regions that transactions are ready for sub-processing.
The transactions are processed. Perfect. And do you receive any confirmation from them, or is just once you send it, it's done?
Once I send it, it's done.
Okay. And you send
if they have issues with extracting the information, they inform me, and then we try to assist. But my process ends after I've informed them that the transactions are ready for processing.
You mentioned about the notifications and all, right, from the Nomos. It goes to the regional team also, who is responsible for the contract?
Correct. We have a Teams site, and that's where we make, I'll call it an announcement.
announcement means what? This is the auto notification, right? So this is
No,
automatically
it's
going.
a manual notification. I go up and I type it up and I say, "Hi everyone, please note that the transactions are ready for SAP processing."
Okay, so this is a part of your job as a month that you have to follow up on that. So investigate the difference. So which portion it comes? Which step it
So
comes that you follow up with them that this is something is pending, etc. This is a separate thing, right? This is not in the process, but still, this is a good check, right? You inform them.
I don't think I understand now. Sorry.
My question was that when you are getting this notification, right, and you are manually publishing this notification, so you are publishing at the mid of the month or just before the deadline?
I publish it 4 days before the last working day of the month.
Okay. So basically, even though deadline is 10 days, you work for 3 days, and after that you publish one more in case something is there.
Yes, but we inform.
The publish is not for us asking them for more if there's any changes.
Any changes?
The announcement she puts in, it's not to ask them for leases or anything. The announcement she puts out is to say that she has updated per what they've sent her, and they can now pull the reports to process their journals.
I see. So at what step this announcement goes? My question was,
It's the last step.
It's the last step.
Okay, inform in email the region. So this is not the email. This is kind of Teams
It's
announcement.
in Teams. There's a Teams announcement here.
Okay, in the Teams announcement. To the regions. Okay, the transactions are processed and they can
extract the necessary reports for SAP processing.
the necessary reports. And start processing.
Or SAP processing, to
Or
process into SAP.
Perfect. Because this ends,
So
right?
not and, it would be for.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. So this is the last step.
Yeah.
Okay. Right. I think we did we miss anything in this?
No, I think I've covered the process.
So we have calculations, this, that, reporting, disclosures, controls, reconciliation. Are you supporting any audit work also?
Yeah, so everything that we do, like the check files, the recon, all of that is available for audit purposes. Okay. We keep that saved.
All check files, recons are made available.
For audit, yeah.
Okay. So majorly 2 tasks are deadline based. The first is the processing of the lease by 10th, and the second thing is the reconciliations and reporting.
Yes, but the reconciliations is not monthly, it's quarterly.
Okay. And how many accounts are there in that recon? Do you know?
So we reconcile the right of use asset, we reconcile the current lease liability, and we reconcile the non-current lease liability, and then the total liability.
So asset, non-current, and current liabilities.
And total liability.
Assets, current liabilities, non-current liabilities,
and total
liabilities. How many accounts are there? How many reconciliations do you prepare?
One.
Okay, 1 recon. And you prepare in Excel, right?
In Power BI.
In Power BI. Do you get approval of these reconciliations?
It gets reviewed by Salia.
Again, how do you review? I mean, is there any kind of timestamp, etc. there that this is prepared and this is reviewed?
Yeah, we have to do a sign off for SOX purposes.
For what purposes?
SOX controls.
Okay. So how do you do that sign-offs?
So Nonku usually prepares the reconciliation. She prints the PDF and she sends it to me. She'll send me the one that she signed off in PDF and she'll send me the one that she's done in Excel.
Okay.
Then I review that. I review the Excel because that's how I can follow where the numbers are coming from. And then agree that to what's on the PDF, and then I sign off the PDF to say reviewed by.
But the PDF and Excel are is it different sources?
It's the same
No, it's the
document.
same thing, but it's just the PDF is there for our physical sign off, and the Excel is there for me to be able
The
to follow the
formulas.
numbers, the formulas.
So physical
And
sign
to
off,
make
you do
sure-
that by
Yeah.
hand.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, yeah, on PDF.
Oh, PDF sign off. Okay.
Yeah.
Digital sign off.
Mhm.
And you store it somewhere?
Yes.
In SharePoint, eh?
Yes.
So basically Power BI, you do it, but Excel is the final output. You take from the, Excel report from Power BI, which is a reconciled thing, and then
Yes.
do the PDF. Okay. Power BI, and it is a Power BI and imported in Excel. Perfect. And this is on quarterly basis.
Yeah.
Okay, I think I'm good with this. Any other thing which you might want to mention? Anything I have missed, Nonku?
No, I think that's the process.
Okay. Anything else, Alia, which I think I have missed or anything, not captured? Okay. Any other challenges which you think? A lot of things I've noted, but still something comes up that if something is there, it can be improved. It will make life easier. No,
I
Nonku?
can't think of anything. No, I can't think of anything right now.
Okay, perfect. Any other question, Dalia, from you?
Thank you, Vineet. I believe you covered most of the questions. Yeah.
Okay. All right, then we can end the call then. We have still 20 minutes. You guys can keep marching forward. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Well,
Bye.
thank you. Okay, bye.
Thank you.